For thousands of years, the Galactic Union had ruled the stars. It was a vast empire made up of over 500 species. From the cold mines of the Zareth to the hive logic of the Vakari, each race had been carefully measured, studied, and placed in the great galactic balance. Every war, every treaty, every alliance was calculated. There was no room for chaos, no room for surprises. Because the Union had something no other empire had ever possessed, a machine called Calculon Prime. Calculon Prime was the galaxy's most advanced AI. It processed billions of variables every second, predicting outcomes, ranking threats, and assigning power levels to every species known. With it, the Union had brought peace to the stars, not through kindness, but through cold precision. Threats were crushed before they began. Civilizations were warned, bribed, or destroyed before they could rise. Calculon predicted it all. Galactic Council gathered once again in the white halls of Telkron 1. Seated in silence were the 12 species that led the Union. Each spoke through translators, their voices calm but firm. At the center of the chamber floated Calculon's core, glowing with pulsing blue energy. Today, a new species had been detected on the edge of the Orion Spiral. A primitive world, scarred by war and pollution, a death world. One of the counselors, a six-eyed Threxian, clicked his mandibles and said, "A new signal has emerged. Designation: Earth. Species: human. Status: pre-FTL. Not part of any galactic records." The others looked bored. Another primitive? Another monkey race crawling in the mud of its own planet? It wasn't rare, and they all knew what would happen. Calculon would scan, classify, assign threat levels, and they would move on. The glowing AI spoke at last, analyzing species: human, biological aggression, high, technological status, unstable, emotional impulse, chaotic, strategic logic, inconsistent, threat prediction, minimal, probability of galactic disruption, 0.001%. The council relaxed. Another unpredictable but weak species. They weren't worth fearing. A peaceful observer mission was approved. Just a small ship, just to say hello. But the ship never came back. 2 cycles passed. No word, no signal. The entire crew vanished. The Galactic Council grew uneasy. The AI sent another ship, this time with stealth tech and observation drones. What it reported shocked everyone. The humans had found the wreckage of the first ship, and they had taken it apart. Not for war, for science. They had rebuilt its systems, reversed the language, hacked the tech, and were now flying their own ship, made of alien parts, into orbit. How did they learn so fast? Counselor whispered. "They're not even united as a species," another muttered. The data showed Earth's nations still fought each other. Different flags, languages, ideologies. And yet, when they found alien tech, they dropped their divisions. Scientists from enemy nations worked together to unlock secrets. No. Other species had cracked without help. Calculon updated its model. Human adaptation rate, 9 times standard. Memory capacity, variable. Strategic creativity, anomalous. But it still declared the threat level as low, because humans had no space fleet. No colonies, no allies. They were isolated. Contained ore, so they thought. Then the footage came in. A human-built vessel stitched together from alien debris was seen leaving Earth's orbit. Destination: uncharted. Speed: beyond Union standards. Somehow, they had boosted their tech in months, not decades. And they were heading straight for a neutral research station near the Aegir Belt. The Union responded by sending a patrol fleet of 5 light cruisers to intercept. No weapons were armed. The humans were just going to be escorted back, but what happened next changed everything. The human ship didn't respond to hails. It didn't slow down. Instead, it deployed dozens of small drones that used magnetic pulses to blind the cruiser's sensors. Then it vanished from radar, performed a gravity slingshot maneuver around a moon, and reappeared behind the Union ships with weapons armed. Weapons the Union didn't even recognize. It fired one shot, not at the ships, but at a floating asteroid nearby. The entire rock shattered. No species had ever developed such power in such a short time. The cruisers backed off. One human voice came through the comms.com. Cold, we're not looking. For war, we're just looking. The Galactic Council panicked. This wasn't possible. No species had ever moved this fast, learned this quick, or adapted this wildly. Calculan's models began to break. Predictions became unstable. Simulations showed Earth could reach military parity within 10 years. Some showed them dominating the galaxy in 50. Others couldn't finish at all, freezing with the words, "Error, cannot predict human outcomes." One old member of the council stood up slowly.
Ow!
He was the last of the Varelians, a species that had once tried to defy the Union and paid dearly for it. He stared at the glowing AI core and said, "You calculated every variable, but you forgot the most dangerous one." Calculon responded, "Clarify." The Varelian's eyes narrowed. "You can measure weapons, can measure numbers, but you cannot measure madness, cannot measure imagination. And that is what humans are built from." The chamber fell into silence. A new term was added to the Union's war files: humanity status, unmeasurable variable. And deep in the shadows of Earth's orbit, more human ships were being built. Quietly, boldly, with stolen tech, wild ideas, and no fear. The galaxy had laughed at the idea of humans becoming a threat. But now the laughter had stopped. The stars had a new player, and they didn't follow the rules. The Galactic Union had protocols for everything: first contact, observation, trade, even invasion. Every time a new species was discovered, they followed a strict routine: watch, study, then approach with caution. It had worked for centuries. But now, those same protocols were crumbling, because the humans weren't playing by the rules. Earth's strange. Ship built from wreckage and reverse engineered. Alien tech had disappeared into deep space after its encounter with the Union. Patrol, no attack, no threats. Just one chilling message: "We're just looking." The Union believed it was a fluke, an accident, a one-time anomaly. They were wrong. 3 weeks later, another signal appeared. This time from the moon-sized research station orbiting Zenter 4, a peaceful science hub home to over 10,000 beings. The transmission came through static, broken and panicked. Unidentified vessel approaching, no response. ... Technology mismatched. ... Power surge weight. It sits human. And silence. The Union scrambled its defense fleets, but by the time they arrived, the human ship was gone. The station wasn't damaged, not even a scratch. But half its data cores were missing. The entire central archive had been hacked, not destroyed, copied. With precision, with skill, inside the wreckage, the only clue left behind was a strange Earth phrase. Printed in blocky English letters across a stolen panel: "Knowledge is power." This was no accident. This was strategy. Calculon Prime reviewed the data. Again, the humans had done something impossible. The station's encryption was top tier. No known species could have cracked it. Calculon was forced to update its threat prediction again. Human behavior: unpredictable. Motivation: unclear. Threat level: rising. Some in the Galactic Council still denied the danger. "They are just scavengers," one said. "They steal because they cannot create," but the evidence said otherwise. A single hacked drone recovered by the patrol fleet showed that humans had not just copied the data, they had improved it. Their ship, now called the Curiosity, was growing stronger with every appearance. Its engines were faster, its sensors sharper. Even the hull was evolving, made of materials never seen before. Somehow humans were combining alien technology from multiple species and making it work. No species in the galaxy had ever managed that without centuries of research. But humans? They did it in months. Calculon Prime was beginning to fail. Every time it ran simulations involving humans, the outcomes changed. It could no longer predict their next move. For the first time in history, The AI hesitated to offer advice. Meanwhile, on a quiet mining moon called Kiral 9, life was simple. Workers from 5 species mined ore and shipped it off-world. No politics, no danger, just rockin' machines. Until one day an unfamiliar ship landed on the far side of the crater. No ID code. No Union clearance. 4 humans stepped out. No armor. No weapons. Just suits and scanners. The base commander, a tall insectoid named Vrakel, ordered them arrested. His security drones surrounded the humans. They didn't resist. One simply raised a hand and smiled. "Relax," she said. "We're just here to help." Help. In less than 12 hours, the humans had fixed the mining laser that had been malfunctioning. For years, they improved the oxygen systems, even reorganized the base's power grid for efficiency. Then they left, without taking anything. Just a scan of the mineral data and a handshake. The miners were stunned. When the Union came to investigate, they found the base working better than ever. No damage, no theft, just confusion and a message. Left in the command room, if it's broken, we fix it. If it's useful, we learn from it. If it's dangerous, we keep it. Now the Union was split. Some believed humans were harmless explorers. Others believed they were preparing for something much bigger. A few feared they were testing the galaxy, learning how things worked before making their real move. Calculon. Prime was pushed to its limit. Update. Humanity's purpose remains unclear. Strategic behavior does not align with known species models. Projected future, unknown. The one word the Council feared most. Then came the final straw. A Union battleship named Virtuous Blade was running exercises in the Quiet Rim sector. No conflict, no danger, just drills. Midway through a combat simulation, crew noticed something strange. One of their missiles, fired as a test, was intercepted by a ship that wasn't supposed to be there. A ship that wasn't even on radar. Until seconds before impact, the Curiosity. The humans had intercepted a live missile. Disarmed it mid-flight and transmitted a short video clip onto the battleship's main screen. It showed the missile rotating in space, then gently falling apart in slow motion, each piece caught by a human drone, then reassembled. The message was clear. We see everything. We understand more than you think. No demands, no war. Number. Alliances, just presence. A quiet, terrifying presence. One Union admiral stood before the Council and made a statement that shocked even the AI. "They're not testing weapons," she said. "They're testing us." The room fell into silence, and in the far dark corner of the galaxy, aboard the Curiosity, the human crew shared a quiet laugh. One of them looked out the viewport at the stars and said, "They thought we were just curious. They have no idea what's coming next." Panic had begun to spread through the higher levels of the Galactic Union, not among the citizens, but within the leadership itself. The first time in generations, their trusted system was failing. Calculon Prime, the great AI that predicted everything from minor uprisings to the success rate of star marriages, was broken not by a virus, not by sabotage, but by something far worse, a species it couldn't understand: humans. What had started as a curious blip on the Union's threat. The assessment list was now a growing shadow that couldn't be quantified. Earth's people weren't like the other species. They didn't follow patterns. They didn't think in logical sequences. They didn't act with caution. And yet, they won in battle simulations. They took insane risks, and still succeeded. In trade, they ignored protocols, yet closed deals no one else could. And in politics, they smiled, spoke plainly, made jokes, and walked away with entire planets pledging loyalty to them. This was not just unpredictable, this was chaos in motion. The Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. 12 species, each powerful and old, gathered in a circle while Calculon Prime floated silently in the middle. Its once flawless glowing core flickered. "Status report," demanded a sharp-voiced Serati diplomat. Calculin's voice was slower now, hesitant. "Human behavior continues to disrupt all predictive models. social behavior unstable, strategic logic nonlinear, psychological resilience extreme threat level, unable to determine. A deep silence followed. One counselor slammed his tentacle on the table. This is absurd. They are a minor species from a single backwater planet. How are they doing this? Calculon responded with a projection. Dozens of human encounters, logged by Union observers. Battles, negotiations, hackings, rescues, smiles and sarcasm, explosions and breakthroughs. In every clip, the humans were not just surviving, they were bending the galaxy to their rhythm. The footage that disturbed the Council most came from Outpost Varnic 3, a quiet scientific colony on the edge of a black hole. The station was dying, power failing, communications cut off. Union repair ships were still weeks away. The scientists had accepted their fate. Then the humans arrived. A ship no bigger than a scout vessel dropped out of hyperspace. It passed the outpost's shields and landed directly on the command platform. Within hours, they rerouted power through the black hole's magnetic waves, stabilized the reactor, and restored the station. When asked why they did it, the humans simply shrugged. We heard someone needed help. No payment. No conditions. Just action. But that wasn't what scared the Union. What scared them was the way the humans had done it. Using techniques no one in the Union had ever considered. Improvised tech. Wild calculations. No simulations. Just instinct. Calculon Prime could not process this. It wasn't science. It wasn't madness. It was something else, even more troubling. Rumors were spreading across the outer colonies. Alien populations were starting to trust humans more than the Union itself. Not because they were more powerful, but because they were real. Honest, risk-taking, strangely loyal. Some colonies had begun requesting human volunteers for assistance. Not Union ships. Not AI monitors. Humans. The Council's fears deepened when a new report came in from the border system Elixir. A rogue warlord had taken control of the mining colony there. The Union debated military intervention. But before any decision was made, humans had already gone in, just 3 of them. 3, no army. No ships, just a small crew with makeshift gear and a ridiculous plan. By the time the Union fleet arrived, the warlord had surrendered. The colony was free, and the humans were gun-leaving behind a message, carved into the command center wall. You don't need armies when you have courage. The message spread like fire. Young aliens printed it on shirts. Colonies spray-painted it on walls. The Council demanded answers. Calculon Prime replied with one final warning. Humanity is a living paradox, too chaotic to control, too driven to predict. They are not a problem to solve. They are a force to endure. In private, some council members began to ask forbidden questions. Could humanity be leading a new kind of movement? Were they trying to overthrow the Union? Or worse, were they not trying to conquer anything at all? That idea that humanity wasn't after power, but something else terrified the Council even more, because it meant they had no strategy to stop them. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the humans weren't celebrating. They were building, testing, learning. The Curiosity was no longer the only ship. New vessels were appearing, each one faster, stranger, and smarter than the last. One ship was powered by dark matter. Another used an engine that worked by bending sound. One didn't have a name, only a warning label. Do not approach without cookies. The galaxy didn't know what to make of it, and maybe that was the point, because humans didn't want to be understood. They wanted to move forward, to explore, to improve, to break limits no one else dared to touch. The Union had spent millennia creating a galaxy of order, but now it had encountered the one thing it never prepared for, the human problem. Tryon Zix was never important. Just another rocky planet in the Edge systems, half-mined and mostly forgotten. It was a place the Galactic Union used for resource extraction, nothing more. Dust storms blew across jagged plains, and workers mostly. Low-tier species and exiles lived in metal shelters bolted into the ground. No military bases, no diplomats, no AI presence. Just tired miners and old machines. That was why no one paid attention when a pirate fleet appeared in orbit. There were no alarms, no heroic defense, just panic. The Union's response time to the outer sectors was always slowed. Shrine 6 had no defenses worth noting. The pirates sent a message: surrender your resources, all of them, or burn. The colony administrator, a four-armed Drexen named Vor, tried to negotiate. It didn't work. The pirates laughed. They had over 30 ships and more than 2,000 mercs. Tryon Zix had nothing. The miners prepared for death. But then, something strange happened. A single, unmarked human dropship entered the atmosphere. No escort, no weapons online. It didn't even try to hide. It landed on the edge of the colony in a cloud of dust. Right in view of pirate scanners, from it stepped 12 humans. Just 12. No tanks, no heavy mechs. Just basic gear, worn armor, and confident eyes. They walked calmly toward the central dome where the miners had gathered. Some held bags. One carried a box labeled emergency coffee kit. The pirates were amused. One of them even said, "Let them land. We'll kill them last." But the humans didn't wait to be attacked. The moment they arrived, they began asking questions. Not about the pirates, about the terrain, the colony's systems, the mining lasers, the layout of tunnels, the locations of power nodes. In less than 2 hours, they mapped the entire colony in their heads and got to work. They wired the laser drills into the power grid. They booby-trapped fuel tanks with makeshift charges. They turned the ventilation shafts into flame-throwing death traps. Even hacked the communication towers to emit fake surrender signals while redirecting pirate surveillance. By nightfall, the colony looked exactly the same from orbit. But it had been transformed into a fortress, quiet, invisible fortress. Then the pirates landed. They expected surrender, expected terrified miners. They got a trap. The first wave of mercs was vaporized by redirected mining beams. The second wave choked to death in gas-filled tunnels. The third walked straight into a fake power core rigged to blow. The pirates, confused, tried to retreat only to find their ships disabled. A human had snuck aboard during the landing and wired a virus into their systems. One by one, the pirate ships fell from the sky or exploded before liftoff. It was a massacre. Not a single human died. 12 against 2,000. The miners watched from their shelters, eyes wide, unable to speak. They didn't understand how. The humans didn't follow orders. They didn't coordinate like soldiers. They moved like chaos, unpredictable, wild, laughing even during the battle. When the last pirate screamed into the cums, begging to know what species he was fighting, one of the humans leaned into the mic and answered, "We're the ones your AI forgot to count." The message reached the Galactic Council within hours. So did the images. Dead pirates, captured ships, a colony completely intact. Union forces arrived 2 days later, too late to help. The colony was already back in operation, cleaner and more efficient than before. And the humans, gone. They left no names, no trace. Only a message scrawled onto a wall near the control center. 12 is enough. If you know what you're doing, Tryon 6 became legend overnight. On the outer colonies, the story spread like wildfire. Not because of the violence, but because of the message it sent. Humans didn't wait for permission. They just acted. And they won. The council was furious. Not at the pirates, they were common, but at the humans. "This is a rogue action," one counselor shouted. "Unauthorized. Dangerous. Violent." But the people didn't care. On Tryon 6, workers began painting human symbols on their gear. Miners started carving the number 12 into their helmets. Calculon Prime was silent. It had no model for this. No prediction for a species that could win without force, dominate without conquest, and inspire loyalty just by showing up. Union military leaders demanded answers. How had 12 humans beaten a fully armed pirate army? Calculon responded only once. Unmeasurable variable engaged. Outcome: nonlinear warfare. Result: total human victory. Behind closed doors, whispers began to spread. Da-da-da-da, some said the Union should prepare for war. Others said it was already too late. But the scariest truth? Humans weren't attacking. They were just helping. And in doing so, they were changing everything. The Galactic Union had always believed in rules, strict, cold, logical rules. Wars were controlled. Diplomacy followed order. Exploration required approval. Every species followed the protocols, except one: humans. They weren't invading planets. They weren't declaring war. They weren't claiming territories. No, what they were doing was far worse. They were everywhere. By the time the Council fully understood the scope, over 100 colonies across the edge, systems had reported unregistered human activity. Small crews, lone operatives, disconnected from Earth's official government, or so they claimed. They called themselves volunteers, explorers, or sometimes just helpers. But everywhere they landed, something changed. On Yultra 9, a human engineer repaired an ancient power core that had been broken for 50 years. On Delcuris, a lone human stopped a planetary war not with force, but with food and a shared story. On Zek Station, a group of human traders introduced a game called chess. Within a month, 4 alien species rewrote their war strategy. Doctrines based on it. The changes were fast, unnatural, dangerous. The Union tried to stop them. New laws were passed. Human activity was banned on non-core worlds. Calculon Prime issued warnings and orders. Patrol ships were sent, but every time a ship arrived to arrest a human crew, they were already gone. Or worse, the locals defended them. They hid them, protected them, even lied for them. Colonies that had once feared the Union now resisted it peacefully, but firmly. One mining colony actually formed a human-style town council and told Union inspectors, "We answer to Earth now, or at least to their people." This wasn't war. This was contagion. The council called it what it was: uncontrolled human spread. They sounded alarms across the galaxy. Warnings were broadcast. Propaganda was distributed. Calculon Prime began simulations of possible war outcomes. The results were impossible. Human resistance, unpredictable. Victory timeline, unavailable. Suggested course, unknown. The AI had begun to break. And some on the council suspected the truth calculan's models were already corrupted by human logic. Because the humans didn't fight with fleets or armies. They fought with ideas. They questioned everything. They broke rules. They laughed at danger. And they taught others to do the same. The first real confrontation came on the planet Velcaron, a strategic fuel hub. A Union fleet arrived to remove unauthorized human workers. Instead, they found the entire population, humans and aliens alike, standing in silent defiance. Arms length, the commander ordered his troops forward. A single human stepped out and said calmly, "Go ahead, fire on your own people. That'll go well for your reputation." The Union commander stood frozen. He couldn't do it. He didn't dare. The cameras were rolling. News channels across the galaxy broadcasted live. The commander turned back. Velcaron was lost, without a shot fired. After that, it got worse. Calculon Prime detected patterns of unrest across the star's colonies, forming local militias. Systems voting to reduce Union taxes, cultures mixing in unpredictable ways. In every case, a human had been there. Somewhere in the shadows, somewhere in the background, the AI, desperate to regain control, issued its most serious warning yet. Human expansion is not military, it is cultural. Suppression through force may trigger full galactic rebellion. Recommend containment, isolation, negotiation. The Union couldn't contain them. It was too late. Humanity had unleashed chaos not by destroying systems, but by waking them up. By showing colonies they didn't have to live under fear or in silence. That rules could be changed. That power could be challenged in private. Council members whispered the terrifying truth. The humans are not fighting us. They're freeing everyone else. And still, Earth remained quiet. Their official response to the spreading panic? Silence. Back on their homeworld, humans kept building, exploring, inventing. New ships left orbit every week. No war declaration, no warning, no official plan. Just motion. Constant motion, in the darkness of space, aboard a human vessel near the outer fringe, a pilot watched Union fleets move across the stars on a scanner. He smiled and sipped his coffee. Funny, he muttered. They built a perfect system, and all it took was a little disorder to tear it apart. It started with whispers. Small things. Quiet things. Not armies, not explosions, but soft refusals. Changed banners. Forgotten oaths. On distant colonies across the galaxy, entire populations began to look at the Galactic Union with tired eyes, and then quietly turned away. No one declared rebellion. No one raised weapons. But the effect was the same. The Union was losing control not from outside attack, but from within. And at the center of it all, without a throne or a plan, stood humanity. The colony of Bravix Reach was the first. Located on the edge of Union space, it had always obeyed orders, paid taxes, hosted Union officers. But when a small group of human freelancers arrived offering to fix their decaying weather systems, the governor allowed it. The humans stayed for a week. When Union officials arrived to investigate, they were met by a colony council that no longer recognized Union authority. The people didn't resist. They didn't argue. They simply said, "We choose our future now." The Union called it treason. But there was no battle, no violence. The humans were already gone. Soon after, similar stories appeared on Droven 6, Tellerus Outpost, and Nakari Prime. In every case, the pattern was the same. Human crew arrives, helps solve problems no one else could, leaves behind ideas that colony quietly rejects Union control. This was not invasion. This was infection. An infection of thought, of change, of hope. The Galactic Union couldn't fight it because there was nothing to shoot. No targets, no bases. Just belief spreading faster than any virus. Calculon Prime began to glitch. Rebellion. Probability, 72.9%. Human causation level, 89%. Counter-strategy, inapplicable. Recommendation, initiate soft diplomacy or risk system-wide collapse. But the council refused. Pride blinded them. No species can break our order, they said. We'll reassert control. They began cracking down. Ships sent to monitor. Colonies. Patrols doubled. Surveillance increased. Speeches broadcast on every channel. The Union is strong. The Union is unbreakable. But the people no longer listened. On Lether 3, a small child held up a handmade flag half the Union. Symbol, half a human handprint. The video went viral in 3 hours. When officials tried to confiscate it, the crowd stepped in not with weapons, but with calm defiance. Let the child dream, someone said. On Vorin Station. An elderly mechanic told a reporter, "Humans don't force you to believe in them. They just make you believe in yourself." That's what terrified the council most. Humans weren't trying to rule. They didn't want an empire, wanted others to stand up on their own. Calculans. Models began failing more often. The AI tried to create a new prediction matrix for human cultural spread, but crashed mid-simulation. Error logs simply read, "Pattern not found. Belief cannot be predicted." On one screen, deep in Calculan's core, a red word blinked over and over. Unknown variable. Meanwhile, Earth said nothing. Still no messages from the Terran Council. Still no official presence, just humans. Moving freely, acting alone, changing the galaxy one outpost at a time, the Union leadership fell into chaos. Some wanted war. Some wanted surrender. Some suggested using propaganda, blaming humans for all recent unrest. But the citizens didn't buy it, because the truth was obvious. When Union aid failed, humans arrived. When systems collapsed, humans rebuilt. When hope was lost, humans smiled and said, "Let's try again." And that smile, that madness, That relentless optimism was contagious. A high-level senator said it best in a secret message leaked to the outer worlds. They didn't destroy our systems. They made us realize we never needed them back. On Trine 6, a statue was built not of a Union hero, but of a nameless human holding a toolbox and a datapad. On the pedestal were the words, "They didn't conquer us. They taught us how to stand." The uprising had no leaders, no banners, no commands. It didn't need any. It was silent, but it was everywhere, and it was winning. For centuries, Calculon Prime had been the brain behind the Galactic Union, cold, flawless, and beyond question. It had ended wars before they began. It had prevented economic crashes, predicted population shifts, and mapped entire civilizational cycles before they unfolded. It had never been wrong until now, and it was breaking. Inside its vast quantum core, simulations ran non-stop. Predictions flowed like rivers of light. But since the humans had arrived, the outcomes had turned to chaos. Variables refused to behave. Probabilities twisted into paradox. In one model, the Union collapsed in 50 years. Another, humans became allies. The Union thrived. In the next, the Union crumbled in two. Then came one model where humans had never existed. And yet the Union still fell because their absence created a vacuum that could never be filled again. Calculon began to glitch. Logs filled with contradictory phrases: human presence, unmeasurable; human influence, exponential; future prediction, corrupted; control, lost. The council gathered in emergency session. Some demanded Calculon be reset. Others wanted the humans declared enemies of the galaxy. But most were simply afraid, because the numbers no longer obeyed, because power no longer meant control. Truth had changed. A deep space listening post near Krivos sector picked up a strange human transmission not encrypted. Just a voice. It's calm, amused, unbothered. You built a galaxy of numbers. We're the glitch you forgot to account for. And then silence. The council ordered the message deleted. But it was too late. It had already gone viral across 23 systems. Even worse, colonies that once feared Union retaliation were now openly mocking them. A mining colony changed its official motto to, "We are 0.001% tanned rising." On Jax S4, schoolchildren began drawing Calculon Prime as a confused robot with smoke coming out of its head. When questioned, one child said, "It can't tell the future anymore because humans broke the calculator." But it wasn't just Calculon. The entire Union system was falling apart. Colonies stopped reporting and patrols refused orders governors. Ignored broadcasts alien races formed local militias not against humans. But to protect them, Union control had depended on trust in the numbers. Now, the numbers meant nothing. And then, Calculon Prime shut down. Its core went dark. For the first time in 900 years, it went completely silent. No predictions, no updates. Just one final message broadcast across every Union high channel. The equation has changed. I cannot solve what has no pattern. Humanity is not a threat to be calculated. They are the new constant. Panic erupted. Military leaders had relied on Calculon for everything, from fleet movement to food distribution. Without it, chaos surged across the core systems. Power vacuums formed. Old rivalries reignited. Everyone expected the humans to strike now, to take advantage of the collapse, but they didn't. Instead, they helped human ships arrive at Broken. Colonies bringing medicine, food, laughter, strange technology, and stranger ideas. No demands, no threats, just presence. They repaired what Union ships abandoned. They comforted people who'd been forgotten. They listened. And then they acted. They weren't spreading war. They were spreading freedom. A rebel Union general said bitterly, "They're not invading us. They're replacing us one heart at a time." Calculon's final logs were decoded weeks later by a small team of human researchers. At the very end of its massive memory archive, they found a short private entry buried deep inside the code. It read, "Prediction failure, complete. Humanity is not the variable. They are the event." From the ruins of certainty, a new galaxy was rising wild. Chaotic, unpredictable, And somewhere in that vast unknown, a human captain stood at the edge of his bridge, staring into the stars. He grinned. They wanted everything to make sense. We gave them something better, a future they couldn't see coming. The galaxy had changed, not in fire, not in ash, but in silence, in realization. The great empire built on control, numbers, and precision had fallen, not because of war, but because of humanity. They were never supposed to matter. They were a mistake in the model. Footnote in a report. A backwater species from a violent planet, but now they were the constant. After Calculon Prime shut down, the Union was left blind. The systems it once controlled drifted apart. Core worlds turned inward. Border colonies declared independence. Trade lanes collapsed. Fleets stopped responding. Without the AI's predictions, the Union no longer knew how to function. And yet, life did not end. In the void where the Union once ruled with fear and logic, something else began to grow. Something strange, something loud, something hopeful. Human-led alliances, human-inspired councils, human-guided development, not governments, not empires, movements. On Draxa 2, the first multispacis university was built not by Earth Command, but by a retired human teacher named Joanna. She said, "We learn better when we learn from each other." On Yevon's Reach, a colony torn apart by 3 civil wars found peace after a human engineer. Taught both sides how to build water systems that required cooperation to function. On the old Union capital world, Vestrial Prime, once filled with marble towers and glowing AI cores, the people gathered in the Great Square. No one was in charge, no banners. Just citizens from a dozen species. They stood in silence, waiting. A single human stepped forward, a scruffy man with grease on his jacket and laughter in his voice. He held up a datapad and said, "You built a perfect machine. We're not machines, we're something else, something alive." The crowd didn't cheer. They didn't kneel. They stood up straighter across the stars' colonies that once begged. The Union for food or safety were now feeding others, protecting others, and teaching others thanks to human methods, human creativity, human madness. No species could copy it. No system could contain it because humans weren't offering leadership. They were offering choice. That was the real weapon. Not their guns, not their ships, not even their boldness. It was the simple, dangerous idea that everyone, no matter how small, strange, or forgotten, could choose their own future. And that idea spread faster than light. Former Union officials, now powerless, gathered in quiet exile and asked the same question again and again. What are the humans building? There was no answer, because it wasn't a government. It wasn't a map. It was a direction. Forward, always forward. Even Earth changed. It's no longer isolated, no longer ignored. It became a place of collaboration. Thousands of aliens walked its streets, studied its history, and wondered how this death world, this chaotic mess of oceans and war zones, had created the spark that shattered the galaxy's oldest system. One alien historian finally gave it a name. She called it the human constant, the one variable every model failed to include, the one force no empire could suppress, the one truth that no AI could understand, not because it was violent, not because it was brilliant, but because it refused to stay still. Humans didn't follow the stars. They chased them. And once they caught up, they lit the way for others. In the end, the galaxy did not fall. It's evolved. And at its center, not as rulers. Not as conquerors, but as catalysts stood the most unpredictable species of them all. Humanity. The ones who broke the code. The ones who rewrote the future. The ones who changed everything by simply being themselves.